So now on social media, you'd see that people would go and join a certain side,
Yeah.
even though they may not fully believe in the values that
Yes.
that side is proposing,
Yes.
right? I may get into trouble for saying this, but like you look at feminism,
Yeah.
okay? And I'm not going to say anything about feminism, but like you would see male feminists.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Now everyone would argue and say that you should be a feminist.
Yeah.
Like men should also be feminists.
Yeah.
And if by feminism you mean that do you believe that men and women need to have equal rights, then yes, everyone should be a feminist.
Yeah.
But then that you'd see men out there putting out a certain persona,
Yes.
right? Even though they don't fully believe in it, just so that they could get attention and
Yes.
affection from the females that they desire.
Yes.
That's the polite way of saying it.
Yeah.
The right way of saying is women that they want to bang eventually.
Right.
So they,
Perhaps maybe that may be their intention.
and they don't think
one
they're
of them.
good enough as who they are, so they need to put out this false persona,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, why does that happen? Like,
Okay, so you touched on a lot there. With the tribalism aspect of it specifically, I also thought about this, and one question which I came to was, why did it turn out this way specifically? Why did it happen that the dynamics of tribalism made us feel the way that it did? Or why did survival, right? And like the evolutionary perspective talks about this is we evolved as a consequence of the challenges which we had to overcome over time. But all of it followed a very interesting pathway to get us to how we are right now. Like the duality between you identifying with one group, and then as soon as you identify with this one group, everything else becomes a threat to you, right? And you want to protect this. You want to protect this identity that you have because that's who you think you are. I think the conflict which surrounds it goes back to this, is because people believe that they are this one thing, and if you believe you are that one thing, then you need to defend yourself against something that is not that thing. And if that is done consciously, you get drama, right? Which is just playing out whatever is happening.
Yeah.
So that's just fun and games. But it's when people identify with this without realizing that these are just morals and values which I want to adopt, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a part of my identity. It can just be something which I want to experiment with.
It doesn't even have to be true.
Yes, absolutely.
Like the things that you believe in, they may not even be factually true.
Yes.
But then you've adopted them and you are protecting them with all you have. That anything, like if I come out and call you out, I'm like, yo, this is not even correct.
Yeah.
Like, you can believe in whatever you want to, but I just want you to know that this thing is not true.
Yeah.
And they feel like their existence is being challenged by someone else.
Yeah. I spoke about this in an episode of my podcast. That's the definition of insecurity,
Well, insecurity, now if we're talking about that, we can come back to insecurity.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. And so...
why has it become so hard?
The feminist thing. I had something to say about that, the male feminist. So this actually happens on both sides. And I think it probably, if you were to take it down to the level of the individual, of the person who acts in these ways, like feminism is just one representation of it. That is why you didn't want to talk about feminism, is because it's not about feminism. It's about the behavior that these individuals adopt.
Yeah.
They play these roles. This also happens with women, for example, when they just go along with whatever it is that they're told. Like they may have preferences, but they don't voice them, right? And they live that persona, they live that character, right? Because they want to be probably accepted and loved. The same thing that these guys do. So in psychology, that goes down to a personality trait. And that personality trait is called agreeableness. Okay, so what happens is when people aren't, and the opposite of that is disagreeableness. What happens is when people aren't disagreeable enough, they don't tell each other, or they don't stand up for themselves. They don't believe that that their opinion is worth consideration. So they just go along with whatever is happening because they want to be accepted and they want to be loved, and they think if they were to say something that would cause conflict. And they aren't people who necessarily enjoy conflict, so they'll avoid it. Now, what they don't realize, and this is something that I try to talk about on my podcast a lot, is the mind doesn't work that way. Like, this has been very well recorded in psychology. And this is something that does really scare me, and it's why I try to live the way that I live. It's that nothing that you ever do is forgotten by yourself. If you ever do anything that's wrong, you will continue to pay the cost of the price of that throughout your life. That's what psychoanalysis, that's what Freud's work laid out.
That's what people call a conscience.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And conscientiousness is another trait. But these men are too agreeable.
That is kind of funny because it's counterproductive to their purpose. Like if their purpose is getting women, right? That is counterproductive because in my experience, I've noticed that this is obviously not about all women, but like a lot of women, they don't want someone who's agreeable.
Yes.
They want someone who, I don't know what the word for it is. It's like not disagreeable also, like not someone who's unpleasant.
Someone who can stand up for themselves.
Someone who can stand up for themselves. There's a sense of authority. There's, you're like being able to put your foot down.
Yeah. So the reason that happens is that the key thing in a relationship, what attracts people to each other, is the masculine feminine polarity. And this doesn't necessarily mean male female. It can be any sort of gender anywhere on the spectrum. It's about there needs to be a polarity between masculine energy and feminine energy. Now, on average, psychologically, scientifically speaking, this has been recorded that women tend to be a bit more agreeable than men. Men tend to be a bit more disagreeable than women. So it also happens that you have disagreeable women who seek agreeable men. Right?
That's, now if you were to say it with common words, it's like women who are, I don't know, stubborn, you can say, going for men who are pushovers.
Yeah.
To some extent.
Yeah, sure.
Like the dominant woman and like...
You're using like synonyms.
Yeah. I don't know why I did that. It doesn't... But like...
Yeah, it does make sense. And I mean, this is a symbol of strength.
Yeah.
So strength is usually associated with authority, disagreeability. Because also when you're being disagreeable, you're making so many statements at the same time. Like there's people who are disagreeable because they're ignorant. And those kind of people don't usually aren't successful in seeking mates because they're just stupid, right? And if you're ignorant and that's why you don't listen to other people and you think you're right, everyone around you knows that you're stupid, and that doesn't work. But I think that's the primary reason those men who pose as feminists, and this is individuation again, going back to Jung, is they don't have it in them to actually do what they want to do, to be what they want to be, to say what they want to say.
Yeah.
So they adopt this safe shell for whatever time being, but what happens as a consequence of it is, even if they do find a mate, a woman who is more disagreeable, in longer periods of time, if they were to be in a relationship, they won't be satisfied. They'll start feeling resentful towards each other. Because
Right.
and this also shows physical manifestations. You know?
Right.
If you are why Chilla, what do you think about?
Because you were trying to say also shows, so you said all shows.
All shows? Oh. Yeah. What I was trying to say is that it manifests itself in your body. If you've got that friction going where you are suppressing your feminine, even in men, if the male is excessively suppressing their feminine, they may start getting bad dreams. They may start even showing symptoms like psychosomatic symptoms. It may represent itself in your body. Jung called that like the animus and the anima. The animus is when the male suppresses their feminine side, and the other one is for when the woman suppresses their masculine side. The key is to integrate them. You need to be able to tap into both of them.
Yeah. Yo, you guys just watched a clip from the Untriggered podcast, and there's many such clips on the channel. So subscribe to the channel and watch more of the clips. There's one right here. Look at it. Look at this thumbnail. It's all clickbait. Probably the video is not that great. This one, another one. Maybe you like this one. You want to go watch this one. So go to the channel, find the videos that you like, and subscribe. Thank you.